Story 1. My parents stole my $120,000 MBA fund for my golden sister's dream house. I never imagined I'd be sharing this story with the world, but here I am. A month ago, I learned that my parents had stolen my $120,000 MBA fund to help my older sister, Ashley, and her fiancé, Nathan, buy their dream home. The betrayal was overwhelming and I found myself spiraling into disbelief. But let's start at the beginning. My grandparents were wealthy but humble, valuing education above all else. They had been quietly saving money for my future, ensuring I had every opportunity they never did. When they passed, their will stated that my parents were to hold on to my MBA fund until I was ready. I trusted them. However, Ashley was always the golden child. She flitted from job to job, never quite settling. When she and Nathan decided they wanted a house, my parents saw no issue with dipping into my fund to make it happen. I only discovered the truth when I asked for the money to begin applying for MBA programs. My parents were evasive at first, but after pressing them, they finally admitted, we had to use the money. They expected me to understand, to be okay with sacrificing my future for Ashley's comfort. But I refused. With the help of my Uncle Jake, I took legal action, forcing them to return the stolen funds, though it meant my parents going into debt. The damage was done. My relationship with my parents is beyond repair, and Ashley sees me as the villain for ruining her dream. But I fought for my future and won. Now, I ask you, if you were in my position, would you have taken legal action against your own parents, or found another way? Story 2. My best friend stole my inheritance to fund her lavish wedding. Sarah and I had been best friends since childhood. We did everything together, from school projects to vacations. I never thought she would betray me. But after my grandmother passed and left me a sizable inheritance, Sarah saw an opportunity, and took it. I confided in her about the money, excited about the possibilities of securing my financial future. But a month later, my bank account was nearly empty. After digging through transactions, I realized Sarah had somehow accessed my account and drained it. She used it to fund a lavish wedding, one I wasn't even invited to. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. I needed it more than you, she said coldly. You don't need money the way I do. Devastated, I pressed charges. It destroyed our friendship, but I couldn't let her get away with it. The court forced her to pay back the money over time, but the emotional wound never fully healed. Would you have forgiven her or done the same? Story 3. My boss stole my idea and got promoted, so I got revenge. I spent months developing a revolutionary marketing strategy, certain it would secure my promotion. But my boss Greg had other plans. He took my work, presented it as his own, and was promoted while I was left in the dust. I was furious but knew I had to be strategic. I documented everything, emails, timestamps, drafts, before confronting HR. They dismissed me at first, but when I threatened to go public, they had no choice but to investigate. Greg was exposed and fired. Meanwhile, I was given a well-deserved promotion and an official apology. It was a long battle, but justice was served. Has someone ever taken credit for your work? What did you do about it? Story 4. My fiancé disappeared on our wedding day, then I found out why. I stood at the altar waiting. Guests whispered. My heart pounded. But my fiancé Mark never showed up. Hours later, I received a message. I'm sorry. I can't do this. Devastated, I searched for answers. Eventually, I learned the horrifying truth. Mark had been leading a double life. He was engaged to another woman in another state, and the pressure of maintaining his deception had finally cracked him. I was heartbroken but also relieved. I had dodged a bullet. If you found out your partner was hiding something huge, would you confront them or walk away? Story number 5. I found a secret room in my new house, and it changed everything. Buying my first home was a dream come true. But when I discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf, my life took a surreal turn. Inside was a fully furnished room, untouched for decades. Letters, diaries, and old photographs revealed the story of the previous owner's forbidden love affair. The family had erased all traces of it, hiding away the room like a dirty secret. Unable to ignore the past, I tracked down the surviving relatives and shared what I had found. It led to an emotional reunion, closure, and a newfound appreciation for the history hidden within walls. Would you explore a hidden room in your house or call someone first? Story 6. My brother's wife stole my identity and ruined my credit. I never thought someone in my own family would steal from me, but my sister-in-law proved me wrong. It started with a few strange credit card charges I didn't recognize. Then a call from a debt collector changed everything. Turns out, she had stolen my identity, opened credit cards in my name, and maxed them out. She even took out a personal loan. When I confronted her, she broke down in tears, begging for forgiveness. I pressed charges. My brother was furious at me, but I couldn't let her get away with it. It took years to fix my credit, but I don't regret standing up for myself. Would you have given her another chance or done the same? Story 7. My childhood friend tried to frame me for a crime I didn't commit. I thought Jake was my best friend, until the day the police showed up at my door. Someone had hacked into a local business and stolen thousands. The evidence pointed to me, my IP address, my name on suspicious transactions. But I was innocent. Through sheer luck, I uncovered the truth. Jake had framed me to cover his tracks. He assumed no one would believe me over him. But I fought back, hired a lawyer, and proved my innocence. Jake was arrested, and our 20-year friendship was destroyed. I never saw him again. What would you have done if someone tried to frame you? Story 8. My mother-in-law tried to sabotage my marriage. From the moment I married Liam, his mother made it her mission to break us apart. She spread rumors, lied to Liam about me, and even tried to set him up with his ex. One day, I found out she had been secretly messaging Liam, convincing him that I was cheating. Furious, I confronted her, and she admitted everything. She just didn't think I was good enough for her son. I cut ties with her, and thankfully, Liam chose me over her manipulation. But the damage she caused still lingers. Have you ever had to deal with toxic in-laws? What did you do? Story 9. The neighbor who stalked me for years. It started with small things, odd glances, lingering stares, and occasional accidental run-ins. My neighbor, Mr. Thompson, always seemed to know my schedule. At first, I thought it was harmless. Until the notes began appearing on my doorstep. Creepy messages about my outfits, my routines, even my private conversations. One night, I found him standing outside my window watching me. I called the police. They found years' worth of photos of me in his home. He was arrested, but the fear never fully left me. Have you ever felt unsafe because of someone watching you? Story 10. My father had a second family, and I was the last to know. For years, I believed my family was like any other, until a phone call shattered everything. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I received a message from a woman named Emily. I think we might be sisters, she wrote. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake, but curiosity got the better of me. We exchanged details, and what she told me left me reeling. Her father was my father. He had been living a double life for over 20 years, maintaining two separate families in different cities. I confronted my mother, expecting her to be just as shocked as I was. But her silence spoke volumes. She had known. She had chosen to stay silent, raising me in a web of deception. When I finally met Emily in person, the resemblance was undeniable. We pieced together timelines, uncovered hidden bank statements, and even found old photos of our father with both of our mothers, proof of his elaborate scheme. I was furious, heartbroken, and lost. My father refused to apologize, insisting he did what he had to do. My mother begged me to keep the secret, afraid of the shame it would bring. But I couldn't. I exposed the truth, cutting ties with my father. My relationship with my mother remained strained, but at least I found a sister in Emily. We may have grown up apart, but now we are determined to make up for lost time. If you discovered a family secret this big, would you expose it or keep the peace? Story 11. My husband's work trips were a lie, and his secret life was unbelievable. I always trusted my husband, Daniel. He was a consultant, constantly flying to different cities for work. His trips were frequent, sometimes lasting weeks, but I never doubted him, until one night when everything unraveled. Daniel had been gone for 5 days, and I was cleaning up when I found his tablet on our kitchen counter. He never let me use it, claiming it was for work. But curiosity got the better of me, and when I powered it on, my world shattered. Messages. Hundreds of them. Photos, flight itineraries, hotel bookings. And worst of all, wedding photos. Not ours but his. With another woman. Daniel wasn't just cheating, he was living a double life. He had a second wife in another state, and according to the messages, they had been together for nearly 7 years. All those business trips? They were visits to his second home. When I confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it. He just sighed as if I had inconvenienced him by finding out. I love you both, he said. I just didn't know how to choose. That was all I needed to hear. I filed for divorce, exposed his lies to his other wife, and walked away from the biggest betrayal of my life. If you were in my place, would you have confronted his other wife first or left without saying a word? Story 12. My best friend's mom paid me to stop being friends with her. When I was in high school, my best friend was Olivia. We were inseparable, until one day her mother called me into their house and changed everything. "I need you to stop hanging out with Olivia," she said, sliding an envelope across the table. "This should help." I opened it and felt my stomach drop. $2,000 in cash. I was stunned. "Why?" She smiled politely. "I don't think you're the right kind of influence for my daughter." The irony? I was the quiet, straight-A student while Olivia was the rebellious one. I didn't drink, party, or even date much, while Olivia had already been in trouble at school multiple times. I was furious. I walked out, determined to tell Olivia everything. But when I did, she refused to believe me. "My mom would never do that," she said, laughing it off. So I showed her the envelope. And just like that, she stopped laughing. Instead of confronting her mom, Olivia cut me off completely. Whether it was out of shame, fear, or just blind loyalty, I'll never know. But I never spoke to her again. Would you have kept the money and walked away, or exposed the mother to everyone? Story 13. I found out my boss was stealing millions, and I took him down. My job at an accounting firm seemed normal, until I stumbled upon a financial report that made no sense. Huge amounts of money were missing, yet no one seemed to notice. I did some digging, cross-checking old records, and what I found chilled me. Our CEO, a man everyone trusted, had been embezzling millions. I was terrified. Reporting him could cost me my job or worse. But I couldn't ignore it. I gathered every piece of evidence, made anonymous copies, and sent them to the board of directors. Then I waited. Days later, the office exploded into chaos. The CEO was escorted out in handcuffs, his entire scheme unraveled. He had stolen over $12 million, funding a secret offshore account and luxury vacations. I never revealed that I was the whistleblower, but I was later promoted when my department needed restructuring. Justice had been served, but it made me realize how easily trust can be broken. If you found out your boss was stealing, would you report them even if it risked your career? Story 14. I found a hidden camera in my Airbnb, and what it caught was terrifying. A weekend getaway sounded perfect. I booked an Airbnb in a small cabin by the woods, hoping for a peaceful retreat. But on my second night, I noticed something strange, a blinking light on the smoke detector. Suspicion crept in. I grabbed a chair, climbed up, and unscrewed it. My worst fears came true. A tiny camera was hidden inside, pointing directly at the bed. Panic set in. I checked the entire room and found another camera in the bathroom vent. Shaking, I called the police. They arrived quickly, searching the entire property. What they found was even worse. The cameras were live streaming. Someone had been watching me. The host was arrested that night, and it turned out he had been secretly recording guests for years, selling the footage online. The case went to trial and he was sentenced to prison. But I never stayed at an Airbnb again. Would you have noticed the hidden camera, or do you think you would have missed it? Story 15. My brother cut me out of our parents' will, but karma had other plans. When my parents passed away, I thought my brother and I would grieve together. Instead, he blindsided me with betrayal. Unbeknownst to me, he had convinced our sick mother to rewrite her will, leaving everything to him. I was completely cut out. Our family home, our parents' savings, everything. I was devastated, but I refused to go down without a fight. I hired a lawyer, and after months of legal battles, the truth came out. He had manipulated her while she was on medication, convincing her that I didn't care about her. The court deemed the will invalid, and the assets were split evenly. Karma wasn't done with him yet, though. Shortly after, he made some terrible investments and lost everything. Meanwhile, I used my inheritance wisely, securing my financial future. He tried to reconcile years later, but I never forgot what he did. Some betrayals can never be undone. Would you have forgiven him, or would you have cut him out of your life forever? Life has a way of testing our resilience through betrayal, deception, and unexpected twists. Whether it's family, friends, or even authority figures, trust can be broken in the most shocking ways. But these stories prove one thing: justice, karma, and determination always prevail. So, what would you do if faced with betrayal like this? Would you fight back or walk away? Let's start a conversation in the comments. If these stories intrigued you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories that will leave you speechless. Turn on notifications so you never miss out. Now tell me, have you ever experienced a betrayal like this? Drop your story below.